Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the biggest developments in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine's claim of an underwater bomb attack on Russia's Crimean bridge. This incident has once again placed the spotlight on one of the most strategically and symbolically important pieces of infrastructure in the entire conflict. The bridge, which connects Russia's Krasnodar region with the occupied Crimean Peninsula, has been a lifeline for Russia's military logistics and a symbol of its 2014 annexation of Crimea. But according to Ukraine's Security Service, or SBU, that bridge was recently hit by a sophisticated underwater explosive attack. In this video, we'll break down what happened, why it matters, the responses from both sides, and what this could mean for the broader war effort. So, what exactly took place? According to official statements released on June 3, 2025, the SBU announced that its operatives successfully carried out an underwater explosion targeting the Crimean bridge. They claimed that explosives equivalent to more than 1 ton of TNT were planted on the underwater supports of the bridge. This was not a random or impulsive act, but a carefully coordinated mission planned over several months. Ukrainian officials described it as one of the most technically complex operations they have ever conducted. They said the attack was directly overseen by SBU Chief Vasyl Malyuk, who has previously been associated with other covert operations aimed at crippling Russian military infrastructure in occupied territories. According to Ukrainian sources, the operation involved divers and specialized underwater drones capable of placing explosives at precise points beneath the bridge's pillars. The idea was to weaken the foundation without necessarily producing a large surface explosion, which makes this attack different from the previous ones in 2022 and 2023 that caused visible damage and fires. The SBU said that after detonation, the bridge's support structures sustained severe damage, leaving parts of it in what they called an emergency condition. They also claimed that the attack was part of a broader strategy to disrupt Russia's supply routes to the front lines in southern Ukraine, especially in the occupied Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions. However, as with most incidents in this war, there are two very different narratives. The Russian side quickly dismissed Ukraine's claims. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated that the bridge remained operational and that there was no serious damage. Russian state media showed videos of vehicles apparently continuing to cross the bridge only hours after the explosion was reported. Local authorities in Crimea said traffic had been temporarily halted for safety checks, but later resumed as normal. Russia's Ministry of Transport also issued a statement saying that all sections of the bridge were intact and that engineers had found no structural problems. Independent verification of either claim remains difficult. Satellite images released shortly after the attack didn't show major visible damage, but that doesn't necessarily mean the Ukrainian report was false. If the explosives were planted below the surface, the real impact could be structural, affecting the underwater foundation rather than the roadway above. Analysts have pointed out that Ukraine has previously conducted similar underwater drone operations targeting Russian naval assets in Sevastopol, showing that it has both the technology and the operational experience to carry out such missions. So why is this attack such a big deal? The Crimean bridge isn't just a piece of infrastructure. For Russia, it's a symbol of control and connection, the physical proof that Crimea is part of the Russian Federation. It was opened by President Vladimir Putin himself in 2018, and since then it has been a constant reminder of Moscow's claim over the peninsula. Strategically, the bridge serves as the primary supply route linking Russian troops in Crimea with mainland Russia. It's used to transport weapons, fuel, food, and other essential supplies to forces fighting in southern Ukraine. Every time this bridge is hit, Russia's logistics network faces significant disruption, even if only temporarily. For Ukraine, striking the Crimean bridge is both a military and psychological victory. It demonstrates that even the most heavily guarded Russian targets are not beyond their reach. It also sends a message to both domestic and international audiences that Ukraine remains capable of hitting deep inside occupied territory despite Russia's extensive air defense systems. Over the past year, Ukraine has expanded its capabilities, developing long-range drones, underwater explosives, and precision-guided munitions, many of which are domestically produced. This latest operation fits into that broader pattern of strategic innovation. Now, it's important to understand that this is not the first time the Crimean Bridge has been attacked. The first major strike happened in October 2022, when a truck bomb caused a massive explosion that collapsed parts of the roadway and set fire to a fuel train traveling across the bridge. That attack killed several people and forced Russia to partially close the bridge for months. The second attack came in July 2023, when maritime drones packed with explosives struck one of the bridge's spans, damaging sections of the road deck and halting traffic for several weeks. This new 2025 attack marks the third major strike on the bridge, but the first time Ukraine has claimed to use underwater explosives rather than surface or aerial drones. Internationally, the reaction has been mixed. Western analysts view the strike as part of Ukraine's ongoing effort to isolate Crimea and limit Russia's ability to reinforce its southern front. Military experts argue that by targeting supply routes like the Crimean Bridge, Ukraine can indirectly weaken Russian troops engaged in battles farther east and south. However, there are also concerns about escalation. The bridge lies in territory that Russia considers its own, so attacks on it can be used by the Kremlin to justify further missile strikes on Ukrainian cities. Indeed, within hours of the reported attack, Russia launched a wave of retaliatory airstrikes on Ukrainian infrastructure, hitting several regions, including Odessa and Mykolaiv. For everyday people in both Ukraine and Russia, the bridge has become a symbol of the conflict's persistence. In Crimea, residents worry about safety and transportation disruptions, while in mainland Ukraine, the news of each attack boosts morale and serves as a reminder that Russian occupation is not permanent. Social media was flooded with reactions from both sides, Ukrainians celebrating the operation and Russian bloggers downplaying the extent of the damage or demanding stronger retaliation. From a strategic point of view, the repeated attacks on the Crimean Bridge reveal a broader shift in modern warfare. This isn't just about frontline combat anymore. It's about targeting infrastructure, logistics, and morale. Ukraine understands that every disruption to Russian supply lines forces Moscow to reroute resources, stretch its defenses, and spend enormous sums on repairs. For Russia, the repeated need to defend the bridge shows the limits of its control and the growing vulnerability of its assets in occupied territories. Looking ahead, the big question is whether Ukraine will continue targeting the bridge or shift its focus to other parts of Crimea. If the underwater explosives truly caused structural damage, Russia may have to invest heavily in reinforcing the bridge's foundations, a costly and time-consuming process. Meanwhile, Ukraine may see this as proof that covert, small-scale precision attacks can achieve more impact than large-scale assaults. Either way, the attack underscores how dynamic and unpredictable this war has become. As of now, independent analysts are still studying satellite imagery and seismic data to assess the extent of the damage. The truth may only emerge over the coming weeks as new evidence surfaces. But one thing is certain. The Crimean Bridge remains one of the most contested symbols of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Each attack on it is more than a physical strike. It's a psychological blow, challenging Russia's narrative of control and highlighting Ukraine's determination to reclaim its occupied lands. That's all for today's deep dive into Ukraine's claimed underwater bomb attack on the Crimean Bridge. It's a story that blends advanced technology, covert operations, and strategic symbolism, a reminder of how modern warfare continues to evolve. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this attack will change the course of the war, or is it more of a symbolic strike than a strategic game-changer? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more updates, and stay tuned for our next analysis on the latest developments from the front lines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.